Back here in Toronto, Canada for Open quarterfinals action. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout, Next Gen Network's coverage of the U23 World Championships. We have ourselves an exciting game today. 2 seed coming out of Group A, Germany facing the 3 seed out of Group B, Japan. Both teams high-powered, a lot of skill. Should be exciting, Kevin. We know the Japanese have the Jet, Taiyu Arakawa, who's just been incredible this entire tournament.
Yeah, they've got the Jet, who's really one of the fastest players out here at the tournament. And in addition today, they've been missing him earlier in the week. Gaku Genshima, star player for them, one of their top athletes, was absent due to work, was in Japan this whole time, just got in yesterday. Going to be a big asset. The one member of their team that was present at the 2012 World Ultimate and Guts Championships representing the national Open team there. That tournament, no age restriction, just the top men's players in Japan.
Also coming off of a university win with another teammate on the team, Ken Nemoto, on the D line. Nemoto, number 31. Arakawa, though, the big breakout star for the Japanese. The Jet, smallest guy in the field, but also the fastest, number 24. Keep a lookout for him today. Now we turn our focus to the Germans, which really gave the U.S. the most difficult game of the tournament. First starting out, looked like the U.S. was going to roll up 6-3. Germany battling back, taking the half, 9-8 before going in the second half, where the U.S. really got awoken and said, "Hey, we're ready to play." But Germany having a great tournament, finishing second in their pool. And here we go, start of the quarterfinals, elimination rounds here in Toronto. Getting things started are the Germans. Hoffman. A little bit of zone from the Japanese. Germany really trying to go with the taller lineup to counter this smaller in stature Japanese team. You can see the size difference right off the bat. And a foul with contact from behind. Looks like Inomata, which has been Japanese own deep threat in this tournament, trying to get the D on Harris.
Inomata changing up his look today, not wearing the red hat that he's worn the last 2 times we saw him.
Mueller going deep. Not going to work this time. Japanese player right there. Nemoto. Hachi Asoko. Arakawa. Japanese, you see in the quick style here, Inomata finds the open Nemoto. They're going to move it quickly. They're going to move it often. And the wind picking up here. Not sure if that was caused turnover. Back to Mueller, though, for Germany. Trying to strike here on the end line for the first goal. Looking for the dump, gets it off. Stroitza flips it back. Mueller been so good for this German team. Wallace flips it up for the first goal of the game. Harris reels it in, 1-0, Germany on top.
And I think you're right, Brian, about the wind catching that dump pass that Nemoto threw. It gusted just at that moment, and I think it made it a little bit harder for him to hold that disc in his hand and steady. Wasn't expecting the gust of wind also going towards him, so pushing that disc down into the ground. And Mueller putting it in for the score. Germany holding serve here early on, 1-0. Want to do a quick explanation for those of you at home. On your screen, you see the seeding there. Not what Brian had talked about earlier. He was talking about pool seeding. This tournament broken up early on into 2 pools. 7 teams in the A pool, 8 teams in the B pool. What you see there is the overall seeds coming into this tournament. Germany at 5, Japan at 6.
Both teams, Japan really holding their seed, finishing 3rd in their pool with a 3-way tie, with Austria being the surprise out of Group B, going 6-1. Japan, though, with a convincing victory over Great Britain. Very important for them to avoid the Americans, whereas Great Britain drawing the U.S. in the quarterfinals. Japan with a much more winnable game in this tournament. And we get to see the Japanese offense to start things off in the second point of the game. Nakamura, one of the handlers. Japanese like to move it quickly. Germany really trying to go again. Their strategy going to be with the bigger lineup. With the wind here, Japanese not moving it as quickly as we've seen. Trying to decipher the zone. Kawabata, Nakamura. Agata, and we have a call on the play.
Hard to tell. If I had to put a guess out here, Brian, I'd say that's a travel call. As he was coming across, it was a quick throw. Germans looking for the foot drag. Gets it back into play.
Nakamura here going to become a really important point early on if this wind keeps up. Japan going directly into the wind. Not hesitating to throw it deep. 2 players there. Sliding grab, but a call on the play. Possibly another travel call. This one going to come back, though, for the Japanese.
And that one being hoisted deep by Nakamura, who is having a silently strong performance here at this tournament. 14 assists for him. One of the handler cores for the Japanese team, consisting of 3 main players. That's number 11, Yuasa. He's out here on the field. Number 31, Namoto, not out here. And number 47, Nakamura, with the disc in his hands right now, getting it back into play. Lots of talk by the Germans, what they're going to do.
Japan, even though they are smaller in stature, not afraid to put it deep, especially with the speed of likes of Arakawa on the field right now. Number 24 going deep. This one going to be short. Bruklaha can't come up with it. Yuasa coming down with it in traffic.
And stealing it from his defender. That one looked like, when it went up, it looked like almost a surefire D. Yuasa, we talked about earlier, another really having a fantastic tournament for the Japanese. A lot of those players really having a great game.
Japan putting it in, ties it up at 1.
And there you see the Japanese celebration. They'll do that almost after almost every single score they have this game. All about keeping the energy good. Here is that steal by Yuasa. And then just punching it in. Nice easy one there. Number 44, Yuki Agata with the goal. Yuasa with the assist. Japanese holding serve as well, 1-1. And the wind now has died down. It was quite strong during that whole point. On your screen, going from right to left.
Very tight game, as we expected early on, 1-1. Both teams exhibiting big playmaking ability.
And going back to the handler core of the Japanese, it's very similar situation with the German team, with the Germans doing most of the heavy lifting done by 3 different players. That's number 42, Aaron Bruklaha, his brother, number 19, Mo Bruklaha, and captain number 33, Nico Mueller. Number 42, Aaron Bruklaha, also a captain. He and Nico, the 2 captains of the team.
Wallace looking underneath. Japanese starting off with a little bit of sag on the handlers. Mueller. Wallace going deep. Got size. Can't make the grab.
And it looks like we have a call down there, or potentially an injury. Injury call there. Nice work by Inamoto to get his body in the way. Coming off the field, that's number 76, Christian Bopp. Probably getting a little obviously getting a little banged up there, probably just a bruise. Would expect him to be back here. This is a critical game. We're in the quarterfinal play.
Japan walking it up to the line.
This one, an opportunity for the Japanese D-line to break.
Force backhand. Trying to go up to Namoto. Usually Japan crisp on their execution.
Their defense not able to get going yet on these turns. They've had 2 opportunities so far.
Looking for the inside break, lofting over. Japan comes up with it after being tipped a couple of times. Nemoto, fast break. Call on the play.
And a travel call violation, saying he needs to tap it to the ground before he can throw.
Fukumoto with the disc for Japan. Japan really liking the fast strike offense. And Nemoto setting up the play.
And we haven't seen Nemoto do a lot of hucking there. He had Inomata streaking deep. I thought it would have been a good look for him to let it loose. The lefty handler, making it a much easier throw to put some distance on it.
We see Hana with the disc, one of the other defensive handlers. Made plays for the Japanese. Close quarters. This one catch made, but out of bounds. Going to be given back to the Germans.
Taking a look at it there, the bid by the German defender, and Yamaguchi having to jump over him forces him out of bounds. So even though he didn't affect the play directly, the bid causing the turnover.
Play continues. Germany trying to strike on offense. Hold here. They're loving the inside breaks. Finding Wallace for the goal. 2-1, Germany leads. Germany so far not been efficient trying to punch it in, but we have holds on both offensive possessions, leading 2-1. Japan, trying to get the first break of the game, have had multiple opportunities on defense, just unable to move it.
Yeah, and plenty of opportunities, like you said. To that point, won the point prior, defensive point, and just unable to convert. Interesting to me with the Japanese defense when they get on O, how Nemoto is always the off handler. He's never the center handler, and he's one of the most respected guys on the Japanese team. Anytime you talk to one of the Japanese players, you ask him, who is the go-to guy, and it's always Nemoto. It's always interesting that they put him on the offside handler. We haven't seen them do a lot of clearing out moves, which you would think would be the advantage of having him as the offside handler. That way he can go deep and then cut under to initiate the offense from downfield or from backfield. Just an interesting setup to note by them. Nemoto still able to be very effective from that position.
So far, the Japanese have not looked their normal selves. Germany doing a good job on defense and preventing them from moving it quickly. Nakamura, Arakawa underneath. Multiple players streaking deep. Tanaki grabs it in right before the end zone. Flips to Agata for the score. The Japanese not afraid to strike quickly and deep. Tied this game at 2s.
And a very nice backhand huck by Arakawa. Notice how his weight in his right foot really holds steady. He steps out super far, puts up a really nice relaxed throw. And just easily done for the Japanese. Was talking to Coach Tim Buchholz before the game, and he said, I've told the defense we're not going to get every single point, so we're not going to worry about it, all right? If they get one like that, I want them to be back and ready for the next one. We're playing a high-level ultimate game here. We're not going to get every single break point.
It's very true against this Japanese team that has very high efficiency on offense. Germany, though, I think doing the right thing early on, not allowing Japan to just run right through them. Other teams have had difficulty stopping the Japanese attack, especially Great Britain. In that game, Japan really dominating on offense.
And the Germans watched the game film, and they said the Japanese do make mistakes, and we've already seen a couple of those mistakes early on here. Mainly from the defensive side, though, the offense playing very crisp, getting it done.
Germany from the center. Reinert looks over for Hoffman. Forced to move back. Stroitza. Hoffman. Underneath. Japanese very tight. Not preventing the Germans to get any sort of flow in the early going of this possession. Reiner in the area, now forced to go back. Hammer going back, and that forces a turnover right near the end zone in a high stall situation. And we'll see who picks up for the Japanese. Now Nemoto.
And the hammer was not the right choice there, Brian. The wind is now going from the near side of your screen to the far side of your screen. When you're throwing a high stall reset like that, you really want to make sure it floats so that somebody can run it down.
Genshima floats this one for Kono. Genshima and Kono both returners here late in the week. Pass maybe not intended for Inomata, but he comes up with it anyway. Fits it in for the goal. The Japanese so sneaky that way. First break of the game. 3-2 they lead.
And Inomata there with the assist, I really, really like his game. He's surrounded by a lot of star players, but really he's like the Ron Artest, where he's just going to give you exactly what you need. Good defense. He's gonna anchor your D-line, and then he's going to come up. He's going to get his like 1 or 2 goals and assists a game. He's not going to be flashy with it, but really an important part of the Japanese team.
Japanese squad looking impressive in this early going. Has had the opportunities off of the turnovers. They've made some mistakes, but that critical German mistake gives it right to them near the goal line. And we haven't seen too many other teams, maybe Canada, be better near the end line than Japan. Japan with their offensive handlers, Agata, Kawabata, they move it very well. And there we have Kono, Genshima back, and Nemoto playing in the stack, and Inomata rescuing that throw.
And a credit to their good teamwork there, that they knew the system, so that way when Genshima went up, they already had a man filling to the backfield. So even though there was a miscommunication, the flow was still there, and they had a guy to come up and rescue the play.
Arakawa trying to find Mueller. Mueller catches his ankle, a little shaken. Those are always scary from the backside. Arakawa very close. Nico Mueller, standout player for Germany. Looking underneath, finding Wallace. Bop. Back, Japanese in hot pursuit. Reinert delivers the pass. You really see the Japanese just right on the backs. Germany having to throw in tighter and tighter windows. Hammer goes around, gets it off. Really like the throws that Japanese are forcing. Wallace. Mueller. Mueller floats one out. Bop runs it down. Inomato there with the bid. But there's a call on the play.
They were debating whether it was in or out.
Can be ruled in. Germany ties it at 3s.
You saw number 14, Kohei Morikawa, signaling they was in fact in. It was interesting before the game. I was talking to Coach Tim Buchholz, and we were talking about Arakawa as one of the big threats of the Japanese team. And I asked him who's going to be guarding him, and he said number 33, Nico Mueller. Interesting, because normally you'd see Arakawa on the offense. That time, he actually was on defense, came down and guarded Nico.
Looks like that the matchup that both sides want, and we'll see who comes out on top could determine who wins this game. Japan with the early break, tied at 3s. Germany still close. And now you're in a one-game situation where these teams, their depth isn't as important. They both are healthy coming into this weekend. Be able to play one game a day. We'll get the best game out of both of these squads for sure.
Some debate about where that disc went out of bounds. The Japanese wanting it closer to the end zone. The Germans naturally wanting it farther away. Nobody really standing in the area went out so early in the poll. They'll have to take it on the sideline. We're playing under Wolfdiff rules. You either can, if you want to center it, you have to take it back to the brick mark.
Agata looking back. Nakamura runs it down. Poaching here from the Germans, trying to sag off the handlers. Nakamura and push back. Kawabata, usually the center handler, finds Nakamura up the line. Nakamura. Kawabata up the line, too far. Another mistake from the Japanese on those upline passes. The wind is here in this game, but not that prevalent. Both teams playing close on defense. Rukalaha comes up with it. Going deep, hanging.
And too many Japanese defenders in the area.
Offense gets it back. Kawabata starting things off. Now forced to go full 70 yards. Short stack, horizontal. Arakawa, Rukalaha almost with a great switch. Wisely stays on Yuasa. Kawabata launches this, floats this one. Not the throw you want for Arakawa. Germany comes down with it. Inside break over the top, deep by Nakamura. And some collisions after the play, but still going on, continuing. Nakamura. Kawabata floating one out for Agata. Slips it in, 4-3. Japan leads.
And normally you see Agata doing a lot of the heavy-duty handling chores for the Japanese, but today, 2 goals early on.
Japan up a break once again. If you're just joining us here, this is the quarterfinal action in the open division, Germany versus Japan. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout. Exciting matchup. 2 seed coming out of Pool A. Only 1 loss to the U.S. Germany led U.S. at halftime 9-8, facing up against Japan. 3-way tie, actually 2-way tie, but Japan with the head-to-head victory over Great Britain in Group B. Austria, the surprise team, taking the 2nd seed. They'll be playing Australia during this round. USA matching up against Great Britain. Italy facing off against Team Canada, the host team. Semifinals to come tomorrow. We'll have both men's semifinals for you tomorrow here in the open division.
The Japanese up a break early in this game. Starting on defense. Germans on O to start it. Now working downwind, left to right on your screen.
Wallace in backfield. Germany has had to been patient. Now launching it deep, size advantage. Wallace there. Goes up, makes the grab on the line. Not a score yet for Germany. Trying to tie this game. Wallace flips it out to space for the easy goal. Wallace doing the heavy lifting with the initial catch.
And that is where the Germans have their advantage. We saw it when the Japanese took on Great Britain. The Britons were down, and they started doing this. They started playing 50-50 ball. This time, though, the Germans a little bit more organized about it, throwing to isolated one-on-one matchups. A very good decision by the Germans. The Japanese, a very quick team, so the Germans opting not to beat them with quickness, but focus on their height and athleticism in the air.
And even there, though, the Japanese defender right on the back, close to making a play. It's a difficult catch for Wallace.
Difficult, but Wallace outsizing Fukumoto by about 4 inches and a whole lot of pounds. Being able to outbody somebody is often an valued skill. The reason having so much, why we see the athletes in Ultimate today so much stronger is when you can move somebody out of your way, it makes it a lot easier to catch it, as you saw there with Wallace.
Zone from the Germans. Agata back to Nakamura. Kawabata. Switch it around here for this O-line. Wide zone. Japanese love to move it quickly. Keeping it alive in the back of their end zone. Wind picking up. Dangerous area. Germans trying to pin them.
And the Japanese seemingly unconcerned with losing yards and getting pushed way back in their end zone.
Leads to a turnover right back to Germany. Bruklaha.
Chance to break back for the Germans.
And do so with relative ease. Germany regains the lead, gets the break back up 5-4.
And I did not like the amount of short swing passes backed up in their end zone like that. It leaves the Germans, if you do turn it over, with a short field, and they can do something like that where Bruklaha, another lefty, steps out for the easy break. And something that both teams seem to be in fine supply of is lefty handlers. The Japanese with 2 or 3. And there, Bruklaha, he's leading the Germans in assists. He's got 21.
We have a timeout on the field. We'll see if the Germans can continue their recent success in this first half at the U23 World Championships in Toronto. This is Next Gen Network's coverage. We'll be right back. And we're back here in Toronto, Canada for U23 World Championships Next Gen Network's coverage. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout. Exciting open quarterfinals game. Germany up 5-4 on Japan, regaining the lead and getting their break back early in this first half. And that zone for Germany working very well. Kevin, you alluded to you didn't really like the short swing passes. Against those wide zones, you have to see penetration from the middle, and I prefer either seeing that. A lot of people like to go with the poppers coming in. I like to see the handlers in that situation make a lot of cuts through, move that wide zone, and either open up a swing pass or the dink and dunk through that will lead to bigger gains.
And credit the German pullers for really getting that disc down there and trapping the Japanese against the back of the end zone. Zone offense often heavily reliant on being able to move both forward and backwards on the field, and a lot of times taking big losses of 5, 10, 15 yards in order to move around the cup. When you trap somebody on the back of the end zone, you've got the 8th man on the field there helping you out, preventing the offense from being able to get around your cup. And the German cup showing a much greater size advantage over the Japanese handlers. Always tough to get around a big mark.
Another high and deep pull from the Germans. Underrated part of this game is going to allow them to set up. Kawabata, more zone. Nakamura. Germans doing a really good job of anticipating the move to the middle. Nakamura on his own sideline. Lots of players in the distance able to get it off. Agata. Hammer reverses field. They're not able to take advantage. Agata being pushed back. Going deep. Floating this one over Brooke Locker's house. Gets the D. Really liking this zone so far for Germany. And then they try to quick strike. Japan looking a little bit lost. Maybe still thinking about that zone 0 point.
Japanese unable to figure out the zone. Great D by Agata there, getting by number 77, David Shaw.
Trying to transition after a foul. Germany slows down the progress.
That's going to let them set back up into their zone. And the middles for the Japanese just following behind the wall of the German cup.
You're not seeing any cohesive strategy here. Over the top. Great grab along the sideline. Agata called down.
And we'll take a look at it on the replay, but almost definitely up from here. That's manages to stop the disc before it hits the ground, keeps it up. They're going to talk about it. This is where I like to have active up and down calls by a third-party official. This one should stay with Agata at worst. Really working to the German advantage here to make a call that's inaccurate. It forces Japan back on the sideline, trapped with the wind going against them. That's why you saw that disc fall down. All for something that really could have been clarified very easily by a third-party official.
Japan working at the sideline, able to survive on that blade. And more physical marking here from the Germans. Foul on the play. Japanese to get it back. Now man defense. Looking deep. Arakawa, this one. Going to make it to him. Still before the end zone. Arakawa flips it for the goal. Japan having to work harder for that one. Ties this game up at 5.
Tanaka with the goal. And that is a difficult throw to get to Arakawa. But Nakamura has what it takes, blading it over the defender. You really have to punch that one if you're going to go with the outside in blade. Because of the direction the wind is blowing, it's swirling. It's primarily left to right on your screen, but also going a little bit crosswind from near to far on your screen. That time exactly what it was doing. If you don't put a lot of oomph into the disc and you're throwing outside in there, that one is dead in the water, and he barely had enough to get it over the defender.
So far, though, liking the strategy from the Germans with their zone. You would think with the movement from the Japanese handler they'd be able to decipher it, but right now really the downfield poppers just following behind, like you said, the backs of the German defenders. The zone is doing exactly what they want them to do, putting the Japanese out of sync. I'd keep throwing it at this point, use it as a weapon. Kono with the pull for Japan. Reinert. Streitzer. We see a zone look from the Japanese. Flip back to Reiner. Moto directing traffic. Mueller. More movement here, just patient from the Germans. And the exact opposite of what we normally see from the Japanese. Mueller. Reiner. Wide zone, lots of yards to be gained. Mueller getting the free reset.
And I think the patient zone offense is the way to dissect the zone. When you're moving too quickly, it doesn't give you an opportunity to see where the weaknesses are. You really get a chance if you're moving it slowly to respond to what the zone is giving you. It's always giving something up. And both of them giving up the same thing, which is this near side giant space, wanting the other team to throw one over the top.
Bop in the middle of the zone. The Germans taking it slow, as you said, Kevin. Really, I think zone should be patient until you hit the middle of the field, and then should be off to the races with the poppers. Germany not able to find that, though. Neither were the Japanese. Sometimes, like you said, with the Japanese just blindly moving it, swing, they're going to lose yards. This one popping up. Bop with the rescue. Puts it out to space for Wallace. Wallace snags it, hovering in the air a bit.
And Yamaguchi unable to read the disc. don't blame him. It was a tough read.
6-5, Germans up right now by 1 on serve in this first half. Take halftime at 9.
There's the D, the reception by Bop, and the misread by Yamaguchi, allowing for the Deutschland score by Wallace. Wallace seeing a lot of action early on. Couple goals now. Big presence. Hard to guard. Yamaguchi forced to go up early for that, reading it early because he knows he's going up against the taller Wallace. Anticipating that if he doesn't go up early, Wallace is going to be able to reach a higher position that he can. So the Japanese on serve after going up a break, then losing it again. Now they're forced to go upwind. I think Brian will look back at this game and we'll see that zone possession 2 or 3 points ago will have critical importance later on.
We expect both these teams to be evenly matched, a little bit of back and forth. Right now, Japan has to solve this German zone, and they're doing it with their swings, which is not able to find the poppers upfield. Nakamura, Arakawa trying to find that soft spot. Not sure if it's nearly a double team here from the Germans. Finding Arakawa, and this is the time you want to move it quick up the field. Arakawa and call on the play. This one coming back. And I think also, too, with the Germans with this style, one of the advantages here is you're really playing against the Japanese pace, which we've talked about in past in other games where the Japanese want to move it fast, go, 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 go. The Germans have slowed this game down.
And it's not, I'm going to come out and say it's not cool right now with the calls. I'm not sure what that call was. Whatever it was going to be extraordinarily nitpicky. They got broken, and rather than try and catch up, they just make a call and bring it back. The other one, the up-down call, also bringing it back to that sideline.
Some discussion still going on this call.
The Japanese so far doing a good job not responding to these calls.
Trying to fit it in, and a D from the Germans gets it back. Call paid off for Germany. Braha picking up the disc near the goal line. Looking for that short break usually. Flip for the goal, gets it again. Germans go up, but we have a call on the play. It'll be rescinded. It stands for a German goal. 7-5, they lead. Germany, though, with that zone, Japan's been unable to solve it.
Yeah, I just don't feel good about that one, Brian. I'm not sure what the call could have been over in the corner. You know, the Japanese were moving through the zone, getting away from it. They already did it before. I think if we see it again, then we're going to be getting on a trend that is moving away from playing a good game of ultimate and instead bending the rules to suit your needs. But we'll see what happens. It might be a little too early to call a consistent showcasing of those kind of calls, though. I think we'll make it something more than just a good, well-played game.
Japan, nonetheless, is going to have to respond here. Down now a break in this game after being up 1. Germans really turning the tide, at least in score, over the last several possessions. Another deep pull from the defense is going to allow them to get down. And we see the zone once again. Nagata tight in the middle. Arakawa drifting. Finding the open man, Yuasa. Yuasa putting it deep for Arakawa. Hanging. Arakawa goes up too early. Almost coming out of nowhere. There's another Japanese receiver.
Great throw. And Arakawa just a little bit too small.
Turnover gives it right back to the Japanese. Trying to move it quickly, Nakamura. Kono. Inside break, right into the hands of Brook Laha. He's been all over the place so far for the Germans this tournament. Not hesitating to put it deep. This one gonna hang. Kono chasing it down. Germany, though, doesn't even have to go up for it. Grabs it. Marquardt reels it in. Germany on another run. 8-5 they lead.
And the right move by Brook Laha to strike deep. And Kono almost able to make the read at it, almost getting a little assist by the wind. It brings it down, but not quite enough. And he got just a touch off balance there. Unable to contest that disc. Germans going up 3. Japanese now forced to go back upwind.
This has not been the best game we've seen from the Japanese this tournament. Just off execution, and even though with some of the calls coming back, it's just been open passes early on and other execution not as precise as we see a timeout on the field.
They're definitely being stymied by the German zone, and I like the choice there to once you get through, send it deep. You just absolutely cannot turn that disc over in the upwind end zone, and their choice to make lots of passes and try and work and find a hole is not putting them in the best position to score.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit there on that one last pass. You have Arakawa streaking deep, yes. But with the win today, it's been hard to put the disc deep. I think they've gotten it through. Yuasa there with the disc in his hands could take the time to work it up the field and do a give and go and still break the zone and make it at least a half field before the defense is able to recover.
I think you're right, there's maybe another pass or two there. But if you don't look to go deeper sooner, that zone is going to catch up and you're going to get stuck moving the disc back and forth. Yuasa was only 10 yards out of the goal line at that point. If he hadn't found somebody else, and I think we did see another Japanese receiver, I don't recall who it was, but if you hadn't had somebody else and the zone catches up, then you're back in the same situation. It's just absolutely too dangerous. We saw the turnover at that first point and the easy put in by the Germans, and that's really what's put them in this place in the first place, has gotten them here. The Japanese will have to figure out that zone, though, in order to get back in this game.
Looking around the rest of the scores here, USA up 7-4 on Great Britain. Australia up big right now on Austria, up 8-4. Surprise there, Australia not having the best tournament early on against the top seeds, but making it through to the quarterfinals, and they might find themselves in the semifinals.
And the Australians playing a close game with the Germans yesterday.
Great pulls all game long so far from the Germans. Agata, and this is a point for half. Finding the middle of the field, finding Yuasa. Agata putting it through, and I like this attack here from the Japanese. Finding the holes. Arakawa, Yuasa. Agata putting in Arakawa. Japan stops the bleeding. Makes it within 8-6, and that's the type of zone offense you like to see from the Japanese.
Most definitely. And a lot of that has to do with the wind died down a little bit, allowing the handlers to step out farther, make more difficult throws in order to break through throws that they most certainly have. Going back to that Australian game earlier, or yesterday, earlier in the tournament, that one went to Universe Point. Australia losing out to the Germans 15-14. was talking to the coach again before this game about that game, and he said, look, we knew we were going to win that game the whole way through. Wondering if they have the same attitude about this game. Feeling confident. Yeah, whatever happens, it might be close. The Japanese can play with us, but we're going to win. If they have that attitude right now, I wouldn't be surprised for them to be able to keep the momentum going.
Japanese getting set to pull, trying to tighten the gap before halftime. Going a bit of a run their own, maybe. Germany, Hoffman looking for Reinert. Japanese defense sets quickly. Mueller looking deep for Wallace, hanging over. Going to give it back to the Japanese. And you can hear the energy on the sidelines. They're pumped to get back in it after Germany went on their own run. Nemoto slowly walking to this disc. Back with Hana and Hachiasaka. Fukumoto and Inomata in their center of the field.
The German sideline getting loud, urging their team onto the D.
Inomata gets it off. Hana looking deep over the top. Tipped, grabbed by Fukumoto, and without hesitation continues it on. Yamaguchi back. Hachiasoko. Nemoto. Hana, Japan looking for a break. Momentum swings. Nemoto. Two players go for the force side up the line. Break throw for the swing and the goal to Inomata. Ron Artest getting it done. 8-7. Germany leading by 1. Back on serve. Actually, not back on serve, excuse me. Still down a break, Japan.
The Japanese absolutely fearless with the Huck game. And this time, Fukumoto keeping his head up and scooping that one off the ground just in the nick of time. Inomata closing the deal and getting the Japanese back in striking distance. They had the lead there early on in the game. The Germans through the zone defense. Some quick turnovers near the goal line for the Japanese. Had them down. But the German Huck allows Japan to get back within 1, going on defense upwind. And the Germans have been able to pull really, really well in the upwind direction, giving them plenty of time to set up. We'll see if the Japanese can do the same. A big underrated advantage right now in this upwind direction. The Japanese pull high but not far, reaching just about midfield.
Stroitza looking along the sideline. Bop. Some energetic marking from the Japanese. Looking back for Bob. Really playing the deep here. Reinert going deep. Hoffman. Arakawa matched up downfield. Excuse me, Inomata on Mueller. Go Mueller. Big player. Reinert. Flat marks. Trying to prevent the Huck over the top. Looking for Mueller. Not the best decision. Throw it behind where Mueller was cutting. And going against the downwind. That one's not going to float for Mueller to make a play on it. Right back to the Japanese.
No, that would be a very tough throw to get to float. It's going to be a bullet. And Mueller already had his hips turned, unable to make a recovery and track that disc down. You'll notice there the defense of the Japanese, they're playing man, but the offside cutter defender is really stepping out to help on any hucks. They're very much aware that the Germans are going to be hucking, putting it deep to their size advantage, and they want to make sure they have 2 Japanese guys there in case the Germans see the look is open.
Layout catch on the sideline. Inomata going to work for the Japanese. Nemoto call on the play. A pick call downfield. Nemoto going upwind, but the wind dying down just a little bit in this possession. 8-7 Germany. Japan going on a little bit of a run in their own. Finds Hana back. Nemoto. Physical marking from the Germans. Foul called, and we'll have a stoppage.
That was more of a bash than it was a mark.
Hana. Through. Now looking back. Achia Sako. Germans really close. Can't come up with it. Going back to the Germans. Tight dump defense there with the wind picking up.
Well, the wind has really been a player in this game. Not doing anything consistently and throwing a wrench in everybody's offense.
Germany now just in the center of the field. Really staying patient. Hoffman trying to swarm any reset option. Bop underneath. Reinert along the sideline. Putting this one up, floating, gonna come down. Tough read, but Bob grabs it in the end zone. That's half for Germany. They maintain their 2-point advantage.
And the Germans just too big for the Japanese right now. Even though that disc goes up, you see 3 Japanese defenders swarming to the position, but Bop and Harris all too big for the Japanese defenders. Germany up 9-7, taking half. We're going to take a little halftime of our own. We'll be back with you in 10 minutes for the conclusion of the quarterfinal matchup here at the U23 World Championships in Toronto, Canada.
And we're back here in Toronto, Canada for the U23 Championships. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout, part of Next Gen Network's coverage of the men's open quarterfinal. Germany right now with a 9-7 lead. And as they're warming up for the second half, they look like they're trying to get the physicality ready, as we see here in the shot.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing some football drills. The kind of contact they're making, definitely not legal in Ultimate, but really amping up in a very physical style. What do you think of that?
I don't know. We have some. The Japanese players are watching as we get ready for the second half. I'm not sure if they're going to be ready for more physical play. Germans have used it a little bit to their advantage. Mostly, though, their zone has stifled the Japanese offense for the most part in this first half, and I think that's what we're seeing in difference in score. That and a couple of Germans' hucks have worked out in the 50-50 shots. Germany with the obvious advantage there. The height difference over the Japanese players. But we'll get started in the second half. Japanese receiving very much in this game, the closest of these quarterfinals. Looks like we picked the right game here, with the other scores being 9-4 U.S. over Great Britain, 9-4 Australia over Austria, and a little bit of an upset. Australia's offense trying to work out the kinks. And then in the other game, Canada leading 9-1 over Italy.
And we may have been a little bit critical of Australia, given their performance that we saw against the U.S. Going back to the German warm-ups, would you say that's the equivalent of the New Zealand haka? Trying to intimidate the Japanese as the Japanese start on offense going upwind?
I would say so. I think the Japanese, though, are fully prepared for international play. They know they're going to take the physicality, and they tend to not get angry about it and pretty much just call the foul and move on, rather than get involved in the argument game.
Yeah, this game has been very clean so far. Discussions kept to a minimum. If a call is made, they're getting through it quickly and getting the disc back into play. Lots of handshakes, lots of smiles, so that's always good.
This one floating out of bounds. The poles have been usually very good for the Germans. This one too far. Brick mark for Kawabata. Looking for Arakawa now up the line. Trips Agata, makes the catch. Arakawa in Japan getting off to a fast start. What they're really known for, getting back to their identity. Kawabata, again facing the physicality. Forced to look around, calls the foul. You can see that physicality in the drill, the warm-up for the Germans, translating to on-the-field marks.
And Brett Schneider making contact with Kawabata throughout the whole throw.
Nakamura getting it on the up line. Arakawa, quick movement. Again, we didn't see much of this in the first half from the Japanese. Nakamura, Germans bidding throughout. Kawabata, Agata up the line for the goal. Japanese get this second half started on the right foot.
And
now within one.
And the upwind foot, Brian, a very important addition to it. That's Agata with his third goal of the game. Already has an assist notched. The Japanese within one, and that was some physical play to start out by the Germans. Brett Schneider there on that foul call early on, just draped all over his man. And I think probably got a little too aggressive with the excessive bidding, opening up the end zone for the Japanese offense to just punch it in and get, as you said, off to the right start.
9-8, Germany leads. We'll see the German offense for the first time this half.
And if you're just joining us, this game started with the Japanese going up a break early. The Germans throwing zone, able to bring the game back into their control. And now the Japanese fighting to get that lead back within one. Germans going upwind. The wind calm though now.
Germans picking it up. The wind been swirling all game long, clearing out for Wallace underneath. And Omata giving chase, finding the offside handler, Hoffman. Looking for Reinert. Bop. Germans really like to put it against the matchups. Bid wasn't get there for the Japanese. Wallace. Reinert. Not stopping the arounds, letting the Germans move to the other side of the field. Germany, though, really not using the dump swing to the advantage, staying patient. Wallace putting this deep for Mueller. Arakawa tips it and gets the D. Crucial block for the Japanese to get back early on in the second half.
And the jet there ready to take off. You saw him. The signature. No good. Nemoto gonna pick it up. Run the offense here for the Japanese.
Arakawa takes one step in. Nemoto does not want to put it so far. The Japanese Hawks have not been flat, and they've been floaty. Arakawa, Wallace making the bid. And Omata put this one high along the sideline, too far. Deed by Germany. There's Harris coming in on the sideline, getting it back for the German offense. Not the throw you really wanted to see from the Japanese. This one floating in the air. The wind stymieing their normal, well-executed offense. Bop. Looking back, good move by Streutzer, gets it in the open field. Call on the play.
Certainly not the throw they were looking to get off. Just the wind sneaking back into this game, doing some very funky things today. It's been left to right the majority of the day, sometimes near on your screen to far on your screen, and sometimes just silent.
Yamaguchi on the mark, Bop. What's the disc in the play? Forced to lose yards. So it's to Wallace. Wallace has been having a great game. Couple of goals, 50-50 catch. Open. We haven't heard from Mueller as much as we've seen him in other games. Nomata getting that opportunity to try to shut him down. And Bop surviving some contact and get the disc on the sideline.
The Japanese really able to push the German offense back there.
Now looking for the reset back to Reinert. Wallace underneath, not available. Bop questioning the quality of the disc at the moment. They're able to change it out here in the lift diff rules.
And Shirakawa playing some fantastic D downfield. Preventing the big guys from getting the disc.
Going for the hammer, gonna float, double helixing over. D, Inomata coming up, puts it out, no hesitation. Arakawa saves the day. Hachiasako, Inomata. Furious pace works for the Japanese, tying this game at 9.
And the Japanese pace overwhelming the German defense, never able to get back at it. That one started off with Inomata and the right awareness to catch the disc so he can get it right back into play. If he had let that one hit the ground or D'd it and run himself, the Germans would have been able to set up, but he gets the catch on the hammer D here. A very difficult catch, no less.
Just watch the transition, though, from Inomata. That's incredible. Catch, step, throw. No hesitation, fights through the contact.
And Arakawa with the bid. And Inomata was getting a freebie there. He had the German draped all over him, giving him the lumber. Takes it and does exactly what you want him to do as a coach. Tying up the game at 9s.
I really think that the Japanese have gotten back to their identity early on here in the second half. And I'm Germany. I'm considering as soon as I get an offensive possession and I'm throwing that zone to slow it back down. Japan has the energy right now. They're getting back to their own game. It's exactly what we like to see. Tied at 9s. This one, the tightest quarterfinal. Other games going on right now. We'll get you a score check in just a moment. German offense on the field. Nico Mueller in the center of your screen. Burklaha coming on. Normally a D-line player. After a couple breaks here, he's getting back into the game.
And the Germans, that point, opting to go big. The Japanese able to lock down, get a step ahead of all their assignments, and a fantastic pull by the Japanese. Not super deep, but great hang time.
Underneath. Bid by the Japanese, foul called behind the back. There was some contact there.
The disc was D'd first, Brian. I think that's a great play.
I think from the backside angle, I would like to see that again. I think there was contact made from the backside on the shoulder there. He's draped all over him. I think that's actually a good foul call. I'm going to disagree.
I wouldn't call that a drape. There was definitely some incidental contact as he goes up. But a drape, it was not. A drape would have had his right arm on the German's shoulder, backpacking him. Foul contest here. Amicable. You did kind of see Ishikawa get up and look and wonder if there was going to be a call. Close. Very hard to tell.
Mata giving chase on Burklaha as he gets started. Putting it deep. Getting position. Ruled out of bounds. No contest from the Germans there.
And that one, Gross making the out of bounds call. It was just a little bit too much on that disc going downwind. Couldn't keep it in bounds. He certainly had the matchup he wanted. Again, the Germans going very tall in their lineup. Try to combat the speed of the Japanese team. Genshima picking up the disc. He's been fairly silent.
Putting this one deep against the wind. Gonna hang. Shirakawa goes up early. Gets it back for the Germans. Gross.
Each with some accessories to collect there.
Mueller for Gross, trying to get this one back. Coming underneath. Over the top. Injury call on the play or a foul? Take a look at it right here.
It was above his head, uncatchable in the first place. Very little contact. The Japanese willing to send it back. Gross still discussing. Again, I think the Germans a little bit call heavy in this game. The Japanese have not made any, I don't believe, yet. It's all from the Germans. Japanese responding in the right way, not getting into extended arguments. Willing to go beat them on the field, but they're gross. Just too much pressure from the two Japanese defenders. Misreads the disc with the bailout foul call on what I didn't see is sufficient contact and an unplayable disc.
You were there, Kevin. This one coming back nonetheless. Coming back to the time of the throw. Mueller with a disc. Mueller. And Stroitza. Bob able to reel it in. See the size disparity clearly with him on the field. Berlaha really likes to put the backhands, the lefty handler. Very valuable with his breaks, especially around the goal line for the Germans. Bop. Here, the strategy of going and putting these discs up has been problematic a little bit with this downwind situation for the Germans. Just not floating enough to make a play. See Berlaha just be able to break. Bop. Along the sideline now for the Germans. Putting this one out to space. Gonna hang. Tipped in the air. Gross makes the catch off the tip. Germans go up 10-9.
And really great defense by the Japanese. Forcing a lot of throws. And that one a nice choice by Berlaha to put it up into air and let his big guy make the play on it.
I think you've got to start making a case for him being the most valuable player on Germany. Those throws, his arsenal is he's been able to throw the little high release stinking dunks near the handler position. They're in beautiful inside break. It's going to be tough for those Japanese marks to adjust.
And he is leading the team in assists so far during this tournament. The younger brother of Captain Aaron Berlaha, number 42, following up with a good deal of assists of his own.
Going to come back here on the D line. Play a second consecutive point for Germany.
And it's starting to get quite bright out here. Getting a little bit hotter than it was this morning. Noticeably different.
Zone from the Germans. Japanese break it through. Yuasa, bump on the mark. A lot of respect between these teams so far.
And downfield, you've got Tanaki behind the wall. Opting not to put it to him. Germans staying in zone. Quite loose right now. Arakawa going.
Japanese not really attacking the middle of the field well. Blade over the top. Catch along the sidelines. Full extension. Tanake, call on the play.
And again, Brian, I think it's now becoming a trend. That travel call, only trying to stop the Japanese, wasn't an advantage. The Germans just trying to slow them down with a call, not by actually running and catching up. It's a trend throughout this game, not a one-time thing.
Tanake moving it quickly. Arakawa with the goal. But a call on the play.
An amazing credit by the Japanese to just keep brushing it off, not getting stuck in a call game, and putting in
looking to force it in, finding Arakawa. Do it again, they say. Tie the game at 10s.
And I didn't want to say put it in again, lest they not score, but taking the calls, not letting them themselves get ruffled by the style the Germans are bringing. I wouldn't even say style of play. When it comes to calls, it's not a play style. It's simply a strategy, and a strategy that uses the rules in ways I don't think that they were intended to be used.
Right now, if we look at the other scores across the quarterfinals in the Open Division, 13-6 USA leading over Great Britain. We have Canada up 13-2 on Italy. That's actually the Canadian women up 9-4 against Germany in the women's division. And then Australia is still maintaining their lead on Austria right now, 11-6. We have the most exciting game here, though, on Next Gen Network. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minder out here in Toronto, Canada for the U23 World Championships. Germany tied at 10s with Japan. We're all on serve early on. Recapping here just a little bit. Japan going up by a break in the early goings of the first half. Germany then having their own run, going up 8-5 before Japan was able to make it within 2 at halftime. 9-7, Germany led. Japan getting back into it with some breaks of their own. Really, and Germany went on that run with that stifling zone that took Japan a while to figure out, but since then, they've had no problems rifling right through it. German offense really been patient and looking for that one hawk opportunity. Wallace finding Mueller. Reinert. Now some more flow from the Germans than we've seen before. Reinert.
Well, on the flow, because the Japanese D has not been able to get set here. And the Germans getting what they wanted.
Putting up for Hoffman. Back to Mueller. Strezza. Wallace. Such a impactful cutter for the Germans. Bop. Across the field for Mueller. Strezza. Around Flick. Japanese right on the backs. Gross. Faking Scuber. Mueller. Now forced to look back. Mueller. Bop. Inamata right in the back. Bop absorbs the contact. Out to space. Wallace, another goal, I believe his third of this game. Germany goes up 11-10.
And interestingly, defensively by the Japanese, willing to give, always backing the cutters deep, and willing to give them a little bit more space, believing that they're a little bit faster and able to come around the German cutters for the D. That time Inamata with the backpack. But really effective. You can tell that the German handlers are a bit unnerved when they see the Japanese cutter sprinting behind. The Germans opting to play big here today, probably a little bit slower than they usually play in order to counter the speed of the Japanese. As long as the Japanese can keep locking down on those cutters, I do see a little bit of nervousness in the German handlers, not willing to put everyone out there if it's to an undercut, to a deep cut, ready to let it loose and see how it plays out in the air. However,
we know both teams are going to likely have opportunities to break. Japan has forced turnovers. Germany has been pressuring Japan as well, forcing some execution errors. Hole. Rulaha. This one going to land all the way out of bounds.
And he's had a couple of those so far in this game. And again, the Japanese standing underneath it, make a call where it goes out, and then Brooklaha arguing it vehemently. And the Deutschland will win out on this one.
Nakamura fakes. Back to Agata. Kawabata. Nakamura. Call on the play and questions by the Germans here. This is pretty clean. This is pretty cut and dried. No contest goes to 0, or at least should. 9 height on the mark. Now looking back, being forced to throw upfield. Agata always seems to be available on the up line. Floats this one over the top. Great grab by Yuasa. Arakawa. Japanese getting back to that fast-moving pace. Turns the mark around Agata. Doing it with his feet and doing it with his fakes on his throws. And stoppage on the play.
And the long arms of Yuasa saving the possession there for the Japanese. He is definitely the guy you want if the disc is hanging up in the air there.
Foul call on this play. Thrown right into a poach. Some argument ensuing. This one coming back to the Japanese.
And the Japanese need to be careful not to get into that call game. They've done a really nice job so far. This point, obviously extremely important to both teams. Germans would love to go up by 2. Japanese definitely want to keep this game tied up at 11s.
Gata getting it off. Kawabata. Mark so close. Yuasa. Kawabata. Not much movement here from the Japanese. Trying to get some flow going. Germans doing a good job. A call on the play.
The Japanese working out of a vertical stack. They've been primarily using horizontal. Yuasa setting the front of the stack. Cuts coming off the front.
Yuasa. Foul call on the play. Handshakes in a 0 stall. Yuasa. Calls out fear from the German defense. Playing very tight. Both teams fighting here. I mean, this is for their lives in this tournament. Yuasa looking back, finding Agata. Arakawa. Clear out. Too many people around the play, and a strip is going to save the day, it looks like. Pushing it out of Arakawa's hands with Shaw.
The Germans doing a fantastic job on defense. Getting the Japanese stuck in high stall count situations. They just need to take a little step off, make sure they're not making any contact there, not bailing out a thrower when he's about to do something rash.
Agata. Nakamura goes up the line, catches it, and then survives the contact. And he's going to stay down for a little bit. Injured on the play.
Take a look at the replay. It's hard to know what to do there. I believe that was Kappenberg with the bid. You know, it wasn't a case of him coming across, like making it super dangerous. They were both going to the space. It's a situation that sometimes happens in Ultimate, and I think
we get started here with Nemoto on the goal line. Coming in for the sub, and Germans, though, really trying to bring the physicality and even arguing, too, when it comes down to it. Again, this is something that's pretty cut and dry on the mark. And we've seen this a lot throughout this tournament.
You can see Meinheit just making contact with Nemoto throughout the whole range of his pivot.
And then he comes up questioning why. I mean, this is something that, when talking about whether or not you're going to have observers, but still people need to learn the rules. That's a no contest marked foul. If you're going to, some people are choosing in the U.S. to play with that physical style of play, but you're not doing yourself any favor. You're giving free resets for the Japanese. Able to get it off. Kawabata Very low. Yuasa, always there when you need him. Nemoto, looking for the around. Nemoto. Travel called on the play, or pick perhaps.
The German defense really locking down the Japanese offense, unable to string together the passes like they would hope. Not getting the inside-out break lane open.
Yuasa, flip to Nemoto, over the top, grabbed for the score. Japan ties it up at 11. And you got to think that it might give them a little bit of momentum. They fought that hard, so did Germany. Japan able to survive it. He's starting to get testy here. 11-11.
And here is where it gets started with the break throw by Morikawa. And the finish by Aikida after Nemoto unable to get it. Aikida coming through, getting the high fives. The Japanese really need to make sure they don't get involved in a call game. It's going to not work to their advantage. The taller, more physical team always going to win in that one. So continuing to play, try and keep the game extra clean, going to be in their to their advantage right now.
11-11. D-line out in the field. Arakawa, Nemoto out there as well. Inomata. And then we see on the other side of the field in the German offensive line just height and more height. Bob out there with Wallace. Gross as well. Reinhardt is it to Pop. Wallace in a zone from the Japanese. Starting things off and then switching off immediately. You see Nemoto poaching underneath. Able to move it around Reinhardt. Bop. Mueller. Stroitzer. Underneath to Wallace. Bop. Hoffman. Germans just staying patient as the Japanese are backing, and I think Germans are really getting comfortable now. If you're the Japanese, you've competed on some of the deep shots when they've been not so high. Window dying down. Not really going to impact this play. Hoffman puts up a lefty backhand. Bop. Puts this one out. Reinhardt. Shikawa coming in. Reinhardt makes the grab. 12-11.
And Bop now with a couple of deep throws that are a little bit more bow-like. He doesn't always look super confident when he gets the disc, but he's willing to take the deep shot. And why not when you have a wide open receiver standing in the end zone? He's tall. Just put it up and out into space. So the Germans still in the lead. Looks like we've got a timeout call by the Germans. And we're going to take a quick timeout as well and be back with you for the conclusion of this quarterfinal matchup at the U23 World Championships in Toronto, Canada.
We're back here in Toronto, Canada for the conclusion of this men's quarterfinals game. Japan versus Germany. Japan down 1, ready to receive. So far, though, in the second half, Germany's defense has really picked up the intensity of overall the game, and physicality has increased. We saw that a little bit ago with Germany's end zone defense. But then Japan also not really making life difficult for the Germans. Last possession, Germany starting to get comfortable hitting the underneath throws, not having to really go deep. Bad Japanese switch leads to an easy German goal as we're about to get started. Japan on the line, Germany ready, set to pull. Pulling right into the wind. This pull heading out of bounds yet again. Just unable to overpower the wind.
And Brucklacher really having trouble keeping it in bounds.
Brucklacher, constant argument too on every single pull on the location of where it goes out of bounds.
The Japanese opting to take the brick rather than the disc on the sideline.
Kawabata normally taking the first throw. Arakawa off to the races. Kita open underneath. Agata. Kawabata up the line. And going to be a call, but going to be given right back. Some physical contact there from Shaw. Play restarts. Kawabata. Underneath Tanake. Kawabata. Arakawa. Movement here from the Japanese near the end zone. Quick flip. And another one. Yuasa. Always there when you need them. 12-12.
And the pace absolutely blitzing for the Japanese. Almost too fast for them to handle themselves. It looks like we have a call, though, on the field. Travel, another travel call.
Japan forced to do it again,
which they've done several times already in this game.
About to get started. Kawabata. Flips it again. Yuasa. Hiroshi Yuasa. Critical player near the goal line. One of the taller Japanese cutters in the squad, and we're tied at 12s.
Tall and long arms. Doesn't need them there, though. It's just an easy dump. Dishy for the goal to Yuasa.
12-12 in this game. I think USA already taking the win over Great Britain in the other quarterfinal. Canada, we'll see here, get some other score updates. 12-7 Australia up on Austria. The US actually opened up 14-7 on Great Britain. Canada wins in convincing fashion, 17-3 over Italy. They'll move on to the semifinals to play the winner of this game, Japan versus Germany. Other division, a possible rematch of an early pool play game, USA versus Australia.
And you've got to like being the #1 seed in that case. Much preferable to having to face one of these two teams, which are, provided Japan hadn't dropped that game to the Austrians, would easily be capable of semifinal appearances.
Japan trying to hang tough with Canada earlier in the tournament, losing 17-12. Japan just unable to break, period. Lefty flipped a bop. Bop, Mueller, Hoffman.
And as you mentioned, the Japanese defense a little bit more confused, much looser on their assignments, allowing a lot of space for the Germans to get what they want and make cuts for big gainers.
Bop. Germans just content, though, to hang on to it, look till about stall 6, and flip it up with their size advantage. Right to Reinert. Mueller. Wallace working up the field, 20 yards to go. And we have a call on the play, bump on the mark. Wallace really has been one of the most forceful middle cutters for this German team. Back to Mueller. Bop. Close in pursuit was the defense.
Japanese just unable to put any pressure.
Mueller right on the goal line, flip to Bop for the goal. 13-12.
And everything going into that downwind goal now, left to right on your screen. The downwind offense extremely patient, not giving the defense an opportunity for a break. And just taking passes that are 100%, even getting into that 6, 7, 8 stall count. Still relaxed, calm, finding somebody to reset that count to. You got to be thinking the Germans are confident right now. They're in a tight game, but from the body language of them, I would think they're thinking more similar to the Australia game yesterday, where yes, we're going to win this game. It's going to be a tight one, but we're ahead right now. We've got the wind with us. Right now, the Japan defense is looking a little bit tired.
I think they've got to go, though, and make an adjustment to force the Germans to take more risks. We saw the Germans come up with some 50-50s, but we also saw them miss on opportunities deep. I try to go back to that defense we saw earlier that got Japan really back in this game, and now Germany's just looking very comfortable. But they throw a zone. Japan going downwind. They've had better success trying to move through here, and there's a travel call. Put back into play. Kawabata flips through. Wasa gets it off. Quick swing. Flips it through Arakawa. There was a call on the play.
It looks like another travel call. Again, I think the calls in this game are about 5-1, 6-1 in favor of the Germans.
I do have to say, though, I do think that Japan is guilty of a systematic traveling where they change their pivot foot and are able to walk away from the marks. I've seen it at the national, international level several times with the buzz bullets. I've seen it a couple times here. Very difficult to see, almost imperceptible. It seems that the Germans are locking onto it. It does make it so that the Japanese are able to get breakthroughs off easier. Not sure that all of them have been legitimate here, though.
And we're just being told that after this point, the soft cap will go on, which means we'll add 2 to the highest score and we'll play to that. There is no time cap on this game. Only a point cap. So if the Japanese score, this game will be to 15. If the Germans score, this game will be to 16. Arakawa picking it up.
Getting it deep, finding Akira.
And a 3-on-1 situation there, and Arakawa gets the score, and the soft cap comes on, so this game will be to 15. We're notched up at 13 apiece. And it's going to be who can score upwind.
Japan able to work it through after the fast break. Just getting it once to Arakawa, but here at 13 all. Soft cap on, game to 15. Japan, though, here with a defensive chance, they really need to do something to make the Germans uncomfortable.
And the Japanese with 2 timeouts, they could come in handy. You're in the quarterfinals of the U23 World Championships, and at this time, you go to your top players. So you're gonna play them as much as they have, and you wanna get them as fresh as you can. So if you have those timeouts, you wanna use them strategically in order to play at the peak level that you can. You've got 3 points maximum here. You wanna leave it all on the field. And the Japanese coach walking by us looking very confident. We'll see what they can do.
Gonna give the Germans a bricked pole to start out with. Genshima on the field. Was not here earlier in the week. We haven't seen Kono much this game. Arakawa on defense. Hachi Osako, Nemoto, We'll see here still Japanese backing. Arakawa underneath against Wallace. Finding Mueller, Shirakawa. Mueller trying to put it up. Throws into Genshima.
Didn't know Genshima was behind him there when he comes back for the flick bomb. I think they're seeing the Arakawa matchup downfield, guarding Wallace, who's been great in the air.
Defense really picking up. Harris, back to Mueller.
I'd almost expect just a 50-50 ball to go up to Wallace, being guarded by the much shorter Arakawa.
Bid, Hachi Asako isn't there. Wallace, defense from Japan trying to recover. Wallace, now forced to go back. Looking for an option, flips it up in the air, gonna hang. Arakawa makes contact, foul called on the play. Both players look like getting tripped up.
And that one, Arakawa just getting a little too excited, trying to get in there early and just trips himself and the offense up, making the right no contest call. Germans with the disc on the goal line. Game to 15. Japan needs a stop here.
Looking back, finding Mueller, Wynn picking up. Swing, Stroitza fits it in, Wallace for the goal. 14-13, Germany one away from advancing to the semifinals. Wind, probably the most wind we've had all day long, going to be very impactful for the rest of this game. Japan with a lot better effort defensively.
Yeah, they were really loading the center of the field there. In fact, a little bit of confusion by the Japanese as Nemoto had accidentally left his dump wide open. Nobody else saw it. Nemoto was able to recover there. But if the Germans had been able to take advantage of that, it could have been a quick 1-2 strike. As the Japanese, like I said, overloading the center. And Arakawa guarding Wallace there, you had to think that they really could have just gone with a 50-50 ball to him. A lot of times left alone, no help. I think the Germans have made the adjustment to the Japanese poaching from the far side cutter, and they're bringing that cutter much closer in, trying to get the isolation one-on-one matchup deep.
When he needs it most, Bruglaha gets this one inbounds. Defense set for the Germans. Almost a five-man cup. It's a 2-3-2 with two deeps. Getting on the sideline. Japan's off to the races. Yuasa. Agata. Nakamura. We have a call on the play. Another travel call.
You're not even guarding the guy and you're calling travels on him. There's no advantage or anything of the sort there. You're watching feet rather than playing Frisbee if you're the Germans right now.
Play restarted. Japan in must-score situation. Germany trying to break and get the game winner. Nakamura. Agata. Arakawa busting deep. There it goes. Arakawa, can you run it down? Too far. Germans with a chance to break, but they have to go 70 against the wind.
And that one really floated. I think Arakawa saw it, thought it was gone. Had a little bit of hezzy there. And if he had just kept going from the get-go, may have been able to make a play on that.
I think you got to look here for Bruglaha to make a throw for a 50-50 shot. You're going against the wind. See if they can advance it up the line a little bit. Japan, though, still doing backing, waiting for that.
Bruglaha, the assist leader on this team, the center handler, and the #1 option when they want somebody to hold the disc and direct traffic.
Inside. bid, not there. Kita trying to give it back. Bruglaha to his older brother, Aaron. This one's gonna float. Agata gets a tip on it. Bruglaha brings it down. Looking back, just staying patient, holding it there. Today, underneath, another layout from Nakamura. Germans can win it here. Bruglaha looking deep. It's going to hang. This is going to be a crowd. Germans come down with it. Bruglaha, travel called on the play. It's going to hang. And this one's coming back no matter what we do.
And the Japanese getting a travel call of their own here, waiting all game, and then coming back with the retaliation travel call.
We'll have to see here. Well, here's the throw for the score. That's not going to count.
Now, Brian, I think that one simply meant to mimic the way the Germans have been calling this game, rather than let the game go on, or rather than let the game end there, using the travel call to bring it back. And they've done such a nice job all game of not falling into the, oh, we're coming back even farther
to the initial hospital pass throw
than what we were looking at.
Bruglaha wanting to launch. It's going to put this one out. Deep strike. This is going to be good. Germans are going in the semifinal. Or not. We have another travel call on the play. Samuel Butenmuller looking to be the hero. Not to be at the moment. Take a look here in the replay.
There's a drag, but it's hard to tell if it coincides with the disc being released or if it's in his hand. You know, at that point, it's so close. It really effectively a non-issue.
Bruglaha, the brother connection, loves those lefty backhands into the wind. Now with a flick around, stumbles on the catch, able to reel it in. Looking inside, marching ever closer. Final stand here for the Japanese, and Germany's going to take a timeout. Call near the end zone. Bruglaha has been so dangerous near there with the short breaks. Here he's a little bit further out. This one's going to be crucial.
And a frustrating end to what has been a really fantastic game. It's really hard to tell when this game is going to end. When they score and the disc comes back, it's now both ways. It was really predominantly Germany early on. And yes, the Germans in a great position here. Bruglaha with the disc. Exactly the man you want to have it. You're going to be able to come out here, run a set play. I'm going to look for a vertical stack from the Germans, trying to isolate one of their big cutters. It's not going to be about quickness here. It's going to be about being bigger and stronger. And a short, quick pass into the end zone, trying to seal this game and move on to the semifinals. The Germans up 14-13. If you're just now joining us, you've missed a heck of a game, and we're now in soft cap, which means we're playing to 15 normally games under WFDF rules to 17. No time cap. Germans out of timeouts, on the doorstep. All they need is one good pass over the goal line, and they will be advancing to the next round, where they draw the Canadians, who have already won today.
17-3 over Italy. Here we go, Arakawa. I don't know that I like this choice here with a size matchup. Brooklacher has been able to break at will. Unless they're going to try to get it out of his hands quickly with some poaching. But I expect a throw here to the break side that's going to seal the deal, or at least attempt to.
And Brooklacher, a lefty, more difficult to defend for those used to it.
Here it goes. It's going to be too far. Hits the ground. Exactly what the Germans wanted, but not the execution. And the crowd beginning to gather here. 14-13. Nakamura taking his time, and we're going to see another zone look from the Germans.
Brooklacher had thrown a really nice one of those throws, that lefty from the far side of your screen to the near side of your screen earlier in this point. It worked out perfectly. That one much more difficult, though, as he's trying to gain yards while throwing it.
Nakamura, Arakawa. Here, Germans still trying to get it back. The zone was the cause of their run early on. Drop near the goal line, just a bolted pass, a little bit faster than needed to be. Brooklacher, so dangerous here. Gets it to the brother, the captain. Putting in foreside, bed not there. Butenmuller with the goal and the win. Germans advance to the semifinals. They will play Canada. In the other semifinals, looks like it will be USA versus Australia. Big win for Germany. And you can see despair on the Japanese faces. They were so close throughout this game. Tough loss for them.
And bitter disappointment for the Japanese after going up with the first break and high expectations. They were fun to watch all tournament, but the Germans getting the better of the Japanese in this quarterfinal matchup. A fantastic game to watch. Two very different teams playing at very high levels. And the results could have gone either way today. The fortunes falling on the Germans, who will, as we said earlier, advance to play Canada, the number 2 seed overall, and a team that has just been absolutely dominant over their competition throughout this tournament. The favored team and the home team.
I think it just came down today. Japan just did not execute the way that we're used to seeing from them. They made a lot of those mistakes early on in the game. They had that break. They let Germany get back on top when it came down to it, and both teams tightened up. Germany was able to withstand the pressure. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, though. We'll have the women's semifinal, whoever Canada ends up playing. Looks like it will be Japan in the women's division. And then we'll have both open semis, USA versus Australia. If that's gone final, Australia had a big lead on Austria late. And then we'll also see Canada versus Germany. See if the host team can survive another challenger. At this stage in the game, everybody is playing for the same thing. Everybody's feeling the pressure. Germany, though, trying to dethrone one of the top teams in international competition. Thanks for joining in, though. For Kevin Minderhout, I'm Brian Jones. Next Gen Network's coverage of the U23 World Championships in Toronto, Canada. Germany with the final 15-13 over Japan.